Welcome back, everybody, to episode 153 of the Lookout Podcast. I'm Meelz, and I'm here with LJ, and we are not Gundams this week, apparently.
Yeah, my bad, guys. My mobile suit's in the shop right now.
Oh God! All right. So originally, what I'll say this kind of kick this off. Originally, we had scheduled Mobile Suit Gundam Witch from Mercury episode to be today. However, the guest that we have planned for this, and I have no qualm in saying that it's Justin J5, who is my co-host for the A Show, who has been pushing me to watch this, and who has been nothing but raving about this for pretty much the last. When did this start airing? Last October.
Yes.
Essentially raving about it for a long time, trying to get me into the Gundam world. You trying to get me into the Gundam world. This is kind of like was supposed to be the gateway. Unfortunately, J5 is busy this week. I didn't really want to do the episode without him. I feel like there's a lot of stakes with him here. Also, yes, you did your Gundam thing is definitely somewhere else. But I feel like we can save that. So what we're going to do is we're going to postpone it. We're going to push it back, hopefully, to the next episode. So that means, what the hell are we doing this episode? Well, I think we're on good divine timing, because it's a good week to do this episode, because Jujutsu Kaisen's Hidden Inventory Premature Death Arc, or the Gojo Pass arc if you're a manga head, has just finished. Literally just finished. So we're going to touch on that today. All 5 episodes, the entire arc, kind of seeing it in all its visual glory. So I feel like this is a neat little surprise for everything.
Hey, listen, man, it always works out in the Lookout favor, man. Even when it doesn't work out, it works out. Like,
right? If you all right, between Gojo and Geto, which one do you think that you are?
Geto.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm not as arrogant and as happy-go-lucky as Gojo.
I'm feeling very Geto, to be honest.
I think I have a full disdain and dislike for.
Do you call people monkeys?
Would yes.
You? No. All right. Okay.
I'm not above that.
All right. But before we get into that, actually, since this is kind of like off the cuff, we're getting a little news that's been happening. We don't usually get into the news for Summer Common House, but fuck it, this is even supposed to be the episode that we're doing, so might as well. Let's talk about DreamCon and anime conventions in general, which I feel like has been a conversation on this for a couple years between us. Anime conventions just in general, but DreamCon happened, I guess it was last weekend.
Yeah.
As you know, as anyone who's listening to this knows, it's the convention hosted by RDC World, Supreme Dreams, and the entire team. And they had a convention. It's been going on. I believe this is the 5th year that they're doing it. Last year, apparently, they had 6,000 people. This year, they got 22,000 people. Experiencing the growing pains of a growing anime convention. And it was definitely talked about pretty much all over the internet. After that, even with the little girl with the videos that canceled RDC World because she didn't get into anything. Apparently, it was like dismay and all this stuff like that. My thing, all right. What are your kind of like? We've been to anime conventions before.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you say any of them have been like, I would never do this again, that kind of bad, that kind of disorganized?
Nah, I haven't been to one that's been disorganized to the point of
cancel them niggas.
Yeah. And I've even then that's a really weird take on just having I think the general public doesn't really understand and know, and obviously the only reason why is because me and you have an actual interview with someone who has to put on this type of stuff. But it's just like people don't understand like what kind of really goes into putting a convention, and like putting a convention on a scale of they jumping from 6,000 people to 22,000 people in 1 year. Like, that's a lot. That's a large scale. That's a large amount of people. That's a lot of things. And I'm pretty sure that in their head, I'm pretty sure they were expecting growth, but I'm sure they didn't expect things to go, to probably go as big as it did. But no, in overall, like, I have never been to a con where my experience is bad to the point where it's like, I'm like, to the point where I want to publicly complain about this con sucks. The only the reason why I was mad at Twin Cities Con last year is because I paid for tickets, and low-key when I got there, I just walked right in. Like, no one asked for my ticket. I was like, oh, I could have just came here on my own. I could have saved.
So that was essentially the problem with what the girl was saying too. Essentially, like, they paid for platinum passes, gold passes, all that passes, and apparently none of the passes matter because the volunteers that they had stocked there were just volunteers. Maybe they weren't getting paid, maybe they were getting paid in access, maybe they're getting paid in ham sandwiches.
I'd get paid in a sandwich depending on how long I got to volunteer.
You're a sandwich connoisseur. No one in real life is getting paid in sandwiches. I feel like if
you ask me to volunteer one day, but you're promising me a good meal at the end of it, like one day of volunteering.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I could see that.
If you had to pay me one day, I'll do a full whatever shift, and you promise me a really, really great meal at the end of it, I'll do it.
So what I heard was I was watching Renee Goddess's Twitch stream because I'm a fan, and then also I just like
you're a fan.
Yeah,
it's okay. You're a fan.
And I need to know as much about this thing as possible. Apparently, like, the catering there was amazing, like top notch, like mad Texas shit, ribs, chicken, mac and cheese, all this other shit like that. So, like, if they got paid in that, I mean, I'm sure they.
Yeah, listen, bro, getting paid in a rack of ribs, it doesn't sound like that.
The problem was the volunteers apparently really didn't enforce anything or do anything. Because pretty much anyone was just allowed in anything, even though the platinum passes were supposed to be like the go pass, like you get their priority first, all this other stuff. You're supposed to have access to all these kind of spaces, and then like anybody could get in, which I can understand the frustration with that because I would be sick if I paid 3 times the price of something and essentially regular people who did not pay that were also occupying it and before me, and I wasn't able to get in. But these are just the growing pains of an anime convention that is run by, to be honest with you, I'm not sure. They've run anime conventions before, but I also feel like, I'm trying to think, like, I'm not sure who on the team is like a professional event planner who would understand the logistics of all these kind of stuff like that. Now, I could be wrong. I heard about this guy named John. Apparently John was out here. He was making sure he was putting up bad tweets. You know what I'm saying? He was moving. He was the one who kind of answered for all this other stuff like that. All the panels that were changed times and stuff that ran over and all this other stuff like that. I'm like, it wasn't John. You gotta talk about, what would I grade your performance here? I don't know if I would grade it very, very highly. But with that said, I think
I wouldn't grade your performance highly.
I wouldn't. I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't, because I feel like, because there's the one part of my brain that says, all right, you sold tickets for this. So you knew more people were coming than last year. And not like, this isn't like 6,000, like 9,000, which is like gross, but also like manageable in the instance I get 15 more people. This is 6,000 to like almost 4 times the size.
I mean, that's huge. I mean, that's a big. Once again, like you try to plan for that. That's a lot of ribs. That's a lot of ribs, and ribs are not cheap. Smoked meat is a very expensive thing. So the fact that they were serving people that, hey, kudos to them. That means they put a lot of money into the food budget. And listen, I can go on all day about that, but let's keep it pushing. So essentially, this is how I feel about it. I feel that the love that they got, I mean, obviously you've seen it all over social media. was great to see. It's great to see that these guys are putting on an event that not only celebrates anime, but it's like it's a safe place and a safe haven for Black anime creators and fans and people who are really into not even just anime, but just like just real nerdy shit. And it's really great to see them put an event on that has that amount of growth, that really is starting to become a real player in terms of as anime conventions go, of like people flew to Austin, Texas for this, and Austin, Texas in the middle of the summer
this year.
Oh, is it Dallas? Was it Dallas?
It was Dallas this year. I think it's been Austin before though.
Okay, so you got people flying to Texas in the middle of the summer to come.
Have you ever been to Dallas, by the way?
Yeah, I actually went to college there.
Oh.
I spent like a year and a half in Dallas.
How's Dallas?
I actually like Dallas. It's thing about Texas, and one thing I really like about Texas, it's like really spread out, and so like there are just different sections of like kind of that Dallas Fort Worth area that I really enjoy.
Right.
But no, Dallas is a really cool city. Great food there. Really just kind of love the culture. I feel like Dallas is a good place where I would have a family. I would have a family in Dallas.
Okay.
Like, because I think like there's a lot of fun things to do in Dallas, like as a family, but also when you gotta get away from the kids, they also have that life too. It's a good balance.
Okay.
But you got people flying to Texas for this thing. You got people really showing up, and that's amazing. But also on the other hand, you still have to understand you're putting on an event, and putting on something as public as this is. You have to be able to be open to criticism, and you have to be open to see where your holes are, and your where you're missing and whatnot. You gotta take the good with the bad, and you gotta be able to take that criticism in a way that is, in a way that shows that you're trying to learn from it, and not in a way that ends up being defensive. I think that a lot of people were like trying to be like, oh, this is y'all always trying to tear a Black event down, or this is why niggas can't have shit because y'all always acting like da da da. It's like, no, it's like, in a day, this girl paid for some shit and didn't get what she paid for. You're playing, it's in a weird way, you're playing with people's money, and it's kind of just like, okay, like if I'm paying and I'm paying top dollar to get this, type of treatment or this type of whatever, I expect to receive those, those benefits and those things. And she didn't, and she complained about it. Now, once again, going the whole cancel them route is a bit extreme, but it's okay. But they have to be able to learn from that. You can't, once again, you have 22,000 people. You're doing this you're doing this thing. You got high level profile people coming up to this thing. And it's like, pay for some actual, like, people, like for some actual workers, like that's kind of like a obviously have some volunteers in some areas, because I'm pretty sure you can't pay for it, but it's like you got to be able to run a clean and smooth event. And I think that they will continue to probably get better and continue to grow. I even told you via text, I was just like, yo, I really think that DreamCon could potentially become like the anime convention. But once again, you have to be able to take the good with the bad. You can't shy away from it, especially when people are like showing you and have like proof of, yo, there are some things, and you got, there are some things that went wrong here, and you gotta just be able to learn from it and grow from it. And I'm sure they will, but yeah, I don't know. It's cool though, man. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the turnout. It looked like a really cool event, a really fun event. Yeah, they can only go up from here though.
Absolutely. I believe so. So yeah, they got a lot to learn. I've seen a lot of suggestions online of what they should and shouldn't do. It varies. My mileage varies on all these suggestions. 4-day cons, I don't think is a great idea at any stretch of the imagination. One, it's more money for you, and then two, it's way more time for you. You're actually probably losing money with a 4-day con if you go, because
4-day con is ridiculous too, because you're really
taking at least 2 work days. To be honest, you're taking off like 2 work days.
Yeah, like no, and once again, you're getting tired at a convention by day 2.
Yeah, you don't really want to be at a convention anymore. Like, these niggas gonna piss you off. Like, you ain't got enough cosplay for 4 days. Trust me.
It's that, and but also too, you got to think. There was a time where conventions were really where you learned about what's coming out next, what's happening next, like what are the new kind of big things, what's the big news, who's new players coming in the game. You know, you get to kind of, you know, it was a lot more revealing. I think now, especially with social media and how fast news gets leaked and all this stuff, it's like, especially with anime, it's like going to a convention is like, how much can I really learn about, you know, this stuff? And you got to also understand too, Japanese talent that's coming over here, only a few guys is really going to be moving the needle like that. You know, it's not like, you know, they can get a lot of voice actors that come over here, but it's, you know, it's not like we're really getting anything from them, you know?
I'm interested to see. I think it was DreamCon is very still kind of like grassroots, because I'm pretty sure like all the meet and greets were like online influencers and not actually people within the anime industry. But it would be great to see if people within the anime industry embrace this con as well. I know that Black voice actors definitely do, especially if you're in the know. But it would be interesting to see if they kind of like grow to that where they can pay these people, like you can pay a Sean Chamel and, well, actually I think they did one year. You pay a Sean Chamel and Chris Sabat to come in. I think they did it like 2 years ago, to pay them to come in and kind of talk about that. But you know, it's growing pains, conventions. Everyone is looking forward to next year. It'll be interesting to see what happens next year. I mean, everything started like failing at a rapid pace. That the app went down. The times for things changed without people knowing. So, you know, first of all, can't be an episode without the police passing by.
Yeah, baby, we back.
But other than that, yeah, I don't know. DreamCon. AD was there. I'm sure AD will recant his experience. He did a lot of ground. He did a lot of footwork. He was really the street team.
Oh man, he was down there living life.
Yeah, I mean, apparently it was really, real fun. I don't want to say the other name they've been calling DreamCon, but you know, it's apparently you have a lot of fun there. Before we get into the Jujutsu Kaisen thing, let's talk about a couple of quick things. Did you watch the Crunchyroll breaking episode of One Piece that came out this weekend?
Yeah, it did. It looked amazing.
Okay. Was the episode amazing?
The episode's good. Like, it's a really good episode. It's a visual spectacle. I think that's where you know, you get I'm trying to figure out how to word this. It's like, it's really good, don't get me wrong, but it's also just like, it's one of those transformation episodes, you know? It's like, it's one of those where it's just like, man, it's a lot of glitz and glam and pow and bang and boom and pow, and then it's kind of like, man, that was like, you know, the most amazing thing I ever watched, and then it's kind of just like, it goes away.
Right.
But I mean, you get some questions answered. There's some big reveals about kind of like Luffy's devil fruit and a bunch of other things. So it's a really, really good episode. You know, yeah, watch it. It's a visual spectacle.
I'm gonna watch it again. I watched it during the 80s stream. Make sure you guys tap into 80s stream. Sundays, he's doing it again next week Sunday on our Twitch channel, the Lookout RNC. I think he's going to be doing Jujutsu Kaisen next week, so you can definitely stay tuned to that, because it is a bunch. I mean, we're gonna cover it, but he's gonna cover. You're gonna be able to look at it when he covers it, and who knows, maybe one day I'll hop on. But I mean, One Piece, it does it again. A good transformation will always break the internet. A really good,
you know, like Ultra Instinct.
Yeah, one of
Ultra Instinct was crazy.
I'm trying to think another one that broke the internet. It was Ultra Instinct. I believe actually one that broke the internet was Deku during the Shihei Saikai arc, where he went faux 100. What else broke the internet? I'm talking about break Crunchyroll. Oh, mostly Attack on Titan shit. I mean, that shit just, the premiere will break regularly every time, like every fucking time. I think the premiere of Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 actually did. You couldn't really get it for like the first 15 minutes, but that's not really breaking. Like Crunchyroll breaking means that you might as well go do something else. That's essentially what it means.
I'm telling you, the last like transformation I remember episode where that happened was Ultra Instinct.
No, that's very true.
Like that was like the last one where I legit
Or
could
the
not.
final episode of Super. It might be the final episode of Super after that.
Yeah,
That was nuts.
That was nuts.
Another thing is My Hero Academia is getting a fourth movie. It is
Not bad at it.
It's apparently taking place within, I guess, this current arc that we're currently in, where Hero Society has failed, and now crime is back up. So it's like, I don't know, perfect stage for a fucking movie, I guess. I don't know why they would put a movie in the middle of this, but hey,
my thing is,
make Star and Stripe a movie. That's what I would do.
I mean, you could
literally blow up the arc. Like, I know the arc isn't really that long, but you can literally like extend it, add more backstory, add more All Might lore, add more. You can show, to be honest with you, spoilers for this arc, Deku's not really in this arc, but you can add other shit from different characters in their synopsis on this. Like, I would have done that. I don't know, whatever, man.
My thing is like, what do you do during this time? Because obviously Deku, I mean, is gonna be back after Deku returns back to UA.
Do a My Villain Academia arc. Make them work for it.
I don't know. But also, too, you know, I wonder. I mean, they're 2 for 3 for movies.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can capture the magic of that first one.
I mean, God knows. I mean, I don't know. My Hero Academia movies, they're not really. I don't really like them because they don't really have anything. You're back right where you started after it ended. So
yeah, you know, it's not pushing. But I think that's why I like them so much. They're kind of just these like random one-offs, and I like how they really do like push the envelope in terms of doing things. Like,
I don't even like the filler episodes, so I don't know.
It's like when Bakugo like randomly just got the power for One for All. It's kind of like, oh, that's cool. That like,
it's like fan fiction. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's big fan fiction. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like I said, they were 2 for 3, and one missed really bad. That second one sucked.
I agree.
That third one was alright. It was cool.
Third one was alright. Yeah, it had good fights.
That first one was amazing. I can't even hold you. That first
one was pretty. Yeah, and the first one is actually, if it was, I mean, they're canon in a sense, all of them, depending on what's referenced and stuff. But they're also not really canon. Because no one from the show was like, "Damn, that fight from the movie, god damn."
Yeah.
Kaiju number 8. It's trailer drop.
Looks good.
I like it. I'm excited.
I'm just waiting for Sakamoto days.
I don't think we're gonna get a trailer for that.
I don't. I hope we get the anime. That's all I want.
Let me see. Let me open up the thing. Kaiju number 8. I mean, it looked good. If you're not familiar with Kaiju number 8, we have a thread on our Twitter page. I'm still calling it Twitter. We have a thread. We have a thread there. I'm not calling it no X thread. Ew.
Thread.
We're
a hentai page now.
We have a thread. We have a thread where you can definitely get caught up to speed on what it's about. But looks good. Coming out spring 2024. So we have that to look forward to next year. And yeah, that's all I'll say about that. I think it's time to get into Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 kicked off. I think everyone's generally excited about this arc. And just season 2 in general, yeah. This kind of thing. What's the first thing that struck out to you about this arc?
First thing that stuck out to me,
because this animation is fucking amazing.
Oh, it's really, really good.
Like all the way through. I'm like, damn, we have come very far where Spirited Away animation is the standard. Like,
essentially, I don't know, like it felt very
Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, like felt soft. Like not the like the feeling of it felt soft, and I don't know how else to explain it in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But like I feel that a lot of animation now is about like brightness and light, and like this felt like, I don't know, it felt pretty.
I
You
agree.
know what I'm saying? Like it just felt pretty. It felt soft. It felt springtime. You know what I'm saying?
It felt like it also felt like to me. I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen Digimon's first movie?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
You know, you can watch that on YouTube for free.
I
Someone just had to.
I've I definitely know you can. It felt like that though. It really did. It gave me those kind of feels. But Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 kicked off just a couple weeks ago. We're currently at this point where the hidden inventory premature death arc, or again, if you're a manga fan, Gojo's past arc, has concluded. They're going to take a couple week break, and then they're going to kick off the Shibuya incident arc. I'm looking forward to the trailer for that, which should be appearing imminently. To be honest with you. Um, but this kind of like this is once again Jujutsu Kaisen kind of setting the stage, or at least I don't want to say set the stage, setting the table for a lot of things that are coming up by once again going back to the past. And this is a similar thing that they did with the movie, but actually we go before the movie with this arc. So a lot of things actually it made me look at the movie in a different light.
Oh,
Not that it was
does
better
it?
or anything.
Does it?
Yeah, it does because
Huh.
the story of kind of like Ghetto, the movie's really where you kind of the I mean, spoilers ahead. It's really kind of the only point where you see Ghetto in all of his evilness and capturing that, right? And he's not even really that evil. It's just like his I guess his morals are in a different place. But it's when you think about it, Jujutsu Kaisen Zero is really kind of the only version of like Ghetto that isn't again who he becomes much later, who we find out that he's going to be much later. Um, but it's kind of like the only this is like the only way you're really seeing him. And I know this is like massive spoilers, by the way. I'm trying to spoil it, but not like trying to go too crazy with the spoilers to tell you that
Oh man, listen.
exactly
Hey,
what it
you're
is.
here. You're here.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
but it made me look at the movie differently because it's like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna present a question at the end of this because I think the one thing you should be walking away from this arc is like, all right, and this arc and watching a movie, it's like, all right, then who the fuck is that guy from season
Yeah.
one? Like,
Yeah.
if that's what happened there, who the fuck is that in season one? Um, this movie takes place in the year 2006. How old were you? What grade were you
Um,
in? And what were you doing in 2006? I'm trying to even remember myself.
2006. 2006 was a 2006 was an important year for me
Was
as a
it?
kid.
Okay.
I was sixth grade.
Okay.
Um, Lil Wayne was probably my favorite rapper.
This is post Carter 2, but before Carter 3. Go ahead.
Team Ice Cream just dropped their skate video.
This is very true. This is very 2006. You're taking me there.
106 and Parker's on TV.
It was, but it wasn't with Free and AJ anymore. It was with
It
Roxy and
wasn't.
Terrence J.
Yeah, that was important to me. I remember AJ and Free. I was just really young. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I'm a Terrence and Roski kid.
yeah. I
Um,
feel you.
I'm trying to think. That summer, my stepdad had told me essentially like, I'm done giving you rides. Like you just need to figure out how to get around the city yourself.
Mm.
So I was like on my bike a lot. I first started taking a city bus. Um, God, I think Gilbert Arenas was my favorite basketball player at the time.
That's funny
uh,
as fuck.
no, like I was like a diehard Gilbert Arenas fan. It's hilarious. Um, I'm trying to think. God, I was playing a lot of like fighting games and nothing but sports games. I remember like cutting up magazines and hanging a bunch of pictures on my walls. Uh, yeah, 2006. That was just as a kid. It was like a lot of my interest kind of started taking shape around that time.
No, I agree.
Oh,
I was in high school. I was where was I? I graduated junior high in 2003. So I was entering my junior year of high school, which to be honest with you, I don't remember. I remember my freshman year of high school. I remember my senior year of high school. I don't remember any other shit that happened in between. Um, I remember. Nah, I don't remember anything. To be honest with you, my shit is like mostly themed to music. So if I know the music of this year, I know that I was probably burning CDs like crazy. Like
Oh yeah.
my
So
friends would count on me to burn CDs of music for sure.
during that time, there was in the neighborhood that I lived in, there was a like a CD store, but they would sell a bunch of burned CD. Like you could go in there and buy like mixtapes and shit like that would burn. And um, they used to sell instrumental tapes,
Mm.
and I would always buy them. And not even on some like I was buying the beat tape so I could write raps. I just legit just like listening to music with no words. Like I would just love instrumentals. So it would
Yeah.
just have like crazy stuff on there.
Think of what has happened now. Like, where did all those blank CDs go? Because there was a market for blank CDs. It was like essentially the evolution of the blank videotape of like you can record anything on this tape. It's blank. You can record anything on it. You put it in your VCR. This is taking it a step further. Blank DVDs, blank CDs, and stuff like that. And then once pretty much iTunes came into play and the iPod itself, um, blank CDs became pretty much a thing of the past, unless you were like a really old person. But you held on it for however long you did until you figure out what a flash drive was. Um, but I kind of get, yeah, that's probably my thing
That's
of 2006 is like blank CDs.
eerie.
Yeah,
That's eerie to think about.
I still got blank CDs somewhere in my house. Not blank CDs,
Dude,
but they're not blank anymore.
I'm
But
pretty sure they used them as target practice now for gun ranges.
maybe I don't even know if I could put them in and they will still work. I have like full seasons of the Boondocks on on DVDs that I burned. Um, and oh, maybe I should. Oh, who cares? Boondocks is not in business anymore. Um, but like shit like that, like old wrestling stuff. They are definitely in business. Let me shut up. But yeah, like that's my 2006. Anyway, we go back to 2006 where young Ghetto and young Gojo um are really they're here. But the first thing you see in the first episode is interesting. The first scene of episode 1 plays the same quote as it does in episode 5. So it's taking you on the journey of pretty much like how Ghetto um, becomes who he becomes, because the first thing you hear in this thing is exercise, absorb over and over. No one else understands what curse spirit tastes like. It tastes like filth, he says other shit. He says, I understand the ugliest of the masses. I chose to be a jujutsu sorcerer to save others. That's what I've been telling myself since that day, ever since that day. And he says a couple more things after that, but he's essentially, you kind of see the wheels turning on like what this is actually going to become. And I want to get into kind of like the introduction of Geto and Gojo, and I guess Shoko too. Shoko's the chain smoking 16-year-old, I guess, who becomes the Jujutsu Kaisen nurse in season 1. Um,
You don't know a chain smoking. You didn't know a chain smoker at 16 years old.
I did.
Yeah, I was like at 16. I was like, as bad as it sounds, I think every person
Yeah,
that at
I
least
did.
went to a public high school
I did. It's
knows a chain smoker at 16.
Yeah, it's nasty. They're probably vaping now, or they probably should quit smoking at this point. It's like 20 years later. Um,
No, I don't know if they're vapors now.
I would
Maybe
hope not.
maybe in my age group, your age group, if they're vaping, that's bad.
Yeah, I agree. Either way, we get introduced at the first episode. We kind of see a mission where Mei Mei and Yutahime are on a mission. They go through this curse. This curse essentially creates a domain that creates infinite space, and realizing they could probably trick. I put demon because I'm still thinking of that episode of Chainsaw Man where it was similar, the eighth floor one.
Yeah,
Um, So I put demon in my notes. But essentially, they run in opposite directions. The curse essentially says "fuck this" and pretty much obliterates the building. And they are now. Then we are introduced to Satoru Gojo and Suguru Geto at Shoko Iorei, high schoolers, all second year Jujutsu High students, and you know, pretty much like this is the missions that they go on. Similar to the missions that this is like the I guess the equivalent kind of like similar to the missions that Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara go on. You're now
Mhm.
seeing that taken in the form of Gojo and Geto in their own second year, who as they're trying to figure this out. Um, I don't think the mission is. I was gonna get a little bit into the mission. Mission's not really important. It's kind of like this essentially a setting that kind of like introduces these characters. But what are your thoughts on young Ghetto, young Gojo?
Um, I love the contrast and maturities between them. Um, like I can obviously tell that Ghetto, I mean, is a bit more mature. Obviously, still kiddish in some ways, but like demeanor wise, a lot more mature than or Gojo.
Right.
I said Ghetto, right? Ghetto's more mature than Gojo. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to get across. But like, I like that little like the contrast of it. Like, Gojo seems very young. They should have really gave these two different names. Not so
No
close.
G's. I mean, man, two J's. What do you mean? They look our
Oh,
names. Who the fuck is not mixing that shit up? I get called Jamal every other day.
that's
Uh,
hilarious.
that is, people just ignore the fact there's two E's in there all the time.
But no, I love I like the contrast and maturities. I love how they're drawn. I love their kind of like I don't know, like their contrast and even styles. Like, um, you see Ghettos, and it's more kind of like lax, baggy clothes kind of ordeal. Like Gojo seems like really tall, thin, so he's a little more fitted. Like I just love these two opposing, um, you know, guys that
Yeah.
you know in which I think plays a lot into more too, like their story as Getsu continues to find like his own motives and what really turns him against kind of the world itself and
Right.
what the Jujutsu world is like. So to see that on so many different levels is really cool. I think that like I said, I just love the art style of it. I love this arc so much because it's not really it's not a long arc. It's something that plays a lot with though um just like motives and like what drives people to do the things that they do. Um and when you look at all the characters that are in play during that, you see so many different motives and you see so many different um like reasons on why, like what pushes them, what why do they make the decision that they do, and you kind of see them all you see some people who are really secure in their decision making, you see some people struggling like with it, and I think that this arc portrays that a lot with those dynamics a lot, especially when you look at like all the other characters that end up being introduced.
Right. No, I kind of just to add on to that. I think it's so interesting in this beginning one. It's really Gojo who's the first one to kind of say like, "Why are we saving these weak people? Like, why are we? These people are weak. Like, why are we protecting them as much as they can?" And you can kind of like see from the instance he's never really um it's weird seeing kind of like their growth. Gojo never and still to this day never really subscribes to the ideals of standard jujutsu, like I guess protocol. He never really subscribes to that and still kind of doesn't to this day. I mean, he kind of like does what he wants freely, and you even see that kind of little bit at the end of the arc. Um, Geto kind of like he doesn't really buy in, but he also is like I feel like he's also very inexperienced enough where he doesn't know much more. Um and that's why he kind of like buys in. He knows his role, he knows his job. He ultimately knows what jujutsu sorcerer essentially their role is to protect the general public from curses. He's like that's my role. That's my job. This is kind of like what I've been put on this earth for. And then you see as kind of like his experiences continue to evolve and change and as he continues to actually his own curse, his own curse technique ends up becoming a curse for him because the mere fact that he says earlier in this thing, like, I actually have to eat these curses, and no one will understand like the filth and like how it actually tastes to like eat these terrible curses, and like he has to do it for people. No one else takes on the burden but him. So it's interesting to see kind of like where they start and where they kind of end up. Um, as we go ahead, do you have something else?
Oh no, let's keep
Okay.
going.
Nah, as we kind of like transition now, so we transition to the actual mission itself once they get kind of back and they have a mission. Masamichi, who eventually becomes the principal of Jujutsu High. Um, First of all, Dark Caesar Machimichi is
Oh yeah, bro. Listen, the lineup was crazy.
that's
The lineup was so crisp.
it's
That
like
was
ridiculously. It was
man.
DreamCon.
How much you think he played? How much you think he paid for that lineup?
Uh, 80 buck for sure. Um,
2006. He's paying $80 for the lineup.
he had to. No, it was probably spray painted on. It looks like Ludacris from the Release Therapy album cover.
Oh, it does. Isn't that when he had the double sideburns?
Yeah, that hairline doesn't look real at all. Wow, that's an actual 2006 reference. Good shout out to me. Whoa,
Shout out to you.
I feel like I should get double points for that. That's a 2006 ass album. Um, but nonetheless, he says, "Okay, we have a mission now. This is a super important mission, and it's the mission that comes at the request of Master Tengen." Now, this is the first time. I don't know. This isn't really the first time we hear about Master Tengen. I'm pretty sure he's brought up in season one, but
I think very loosely though, like a
yeah,
very like.
he's mentioned in episode 18, which, hey, however, this is kind of like the first time we're really introduced to him and kind of like what the role he has. So Tengen is his curse technique is he's immortal. However, that doesn't mean he doesn't age. Here's where this kind of like comes into play. He continues to need a vessel. All right, I actually wrote this down. Um, so to kind of like he has the barrier that protects everything at Jujutsu High and kind of like protects people from seeing curses and kind of like Jujutsu High from being, attacked and all this other stuff like that. However, every 500 years he has to find his compatible plasma vessel. So he can reset his technique to avoid kind of like evolution. And the fear is once he eventually evolves, he may become unstable. He may not become the peace loving thing that you actually need. He may actually kind of become more of a detriment to Jujutsu society. So every 500 years, he takes on this plasma star vessel. They assimilate to himself, and he's able to take on the appearance of them. And his immortality thing resets, and he's able to continue to do what he kind of does forever. So now, what their mission is to one recover the star plasma vessel, who they have pretty much determined. Her name is Rico, and then erase her. So yeah, I mean, but however, two groups are after them. Of course, this is like Rush Hour 2. Two groups are after them. One is the Q, who is, to be honest with you, you don't really need to know much about them. They get handed
Oh, they
pretty
get
much
their ass handed to them
very,
immediately.
very quickly, yeah. And then the other is the Time Vessel Association, who they don't really have curses, so they're not really like a big a threat as Q. However, um, they do have money, which essentially leads them to where we get to now. Um, I thought it was a nice little tidbit in the show. There was Shoko trying to kind of explain to them what reverse curse technique is and how to use it. I thought it's funny based on current events in the manga. Um,
Yeah.
but we meet Rico, kind of aggressive, the student who's like kind of she really kind of like wants to do her own thing. She knows she's a star plasma vessel. She's like, listen, I'm excited because I get to become Tengen, but realistically, like Tengen gets to become me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not really like I become Tengen. He's really becoming me. I feel like it's real New York shit. but
It's which, and we learn later that is all this confidence is a front.
yeah, essentially. Um, Tengen says essentially the order is like, listen, fulfill all her requests before she's assimilated. She just wants to live her life as a normal girl for a little bit longer. She's lost her family, all this other shit that comes into play. She kind of just wants to live her life as a normal girl. And then we're introduced to Toji.
That's crazy. It's like livestock. She's like free range. It's like she's like free
Yeah,
range
I
livestock. She's
mean,
like,
I'm
listen, let her
interested.
roam around before we slaughter her.
Yeah,
Let her roam around. Let her live a good life.
but I'm also interested, like, what? How does one become a plasma star vessel? Maybe this is something I could look up. Actually, star plasma vessel. It actually doesn't say. The page just leads to Rico. Shout out to that. She is
I
the
wonder if
one
they
and
have
only.
auditions.
I feel like you gotta. Actually, I don't fucking
I had
know.
to assimilate to a person and take on your body and everything to live another
But they
500
take on
years.
your body because we see what. I don't think we
I would
see
only want the
Tengen.
highest of the high though. Like I want people who are talented, maybe got a special skill.
I don't really think that matters. I think you just need to have like
I
a
do. I do.
good body, very healthy.
That's what I'm
You,
saying. You know, take somebody that like eat McDonald's every day and kind
I don't
of
really think it's like
treat their body like
LeBron.
shit. I
Like,
would. I would
like,
be like,
like
give me the.
Tengen's not asking for LeBron to
I
become.
would if I was thinking,
I would. Don't get me wrong, but you know,
bro. I promise you, if I had a simulator, so I had to take on somebody's whole everything to continue to live. I'm only choosing the finest of the. I'm only
mm,
choosing quality people,
interesting. I feel you. I feel you.
like
But
someone that knows like 5 languages.
but
You
Tengen
know,
doesn't really do anything. He's just there.
biochemist.
He's just there. Tengen's just there to like maintain the barriers. That's his job. Like for real, for real.
You don't think that takes energy level? Once again, food is
Yeah,
fuel, bro.
yeah, but you don't really need LeBron to do that. You don't need
Yeah,
Steph Curry. You don't need
I
Oprah.
would. I'll be taking. Listen,
You need
America's beloved would be getting slaughtered off every 500 years. Who's the most?
um. Anyway, we're introduced to Toji Fushiguro. Thoughts on Toji? This is the guy who I've been pretty much. This is who the first person where I was like, we were covering Jujutsu Kaisen in season one. I believe Carlos was on the episode. And they were like, "Yo, this nigga, this is the guy. Like, this is the guy."
Oh no, Toji's really that guy, bro.
Toji
I don't think
Fushiguro.
niggas understand that he does all this in a pair of slip-on Vans. Like this nigga is really him.
Um, Toji Fushiguro is a pretty much a the sorcerer killer is
That's what
what
they call him.
they
He
call him.
catches them sorcerer bodies.
He's really a Zenin, but doesn't take on the Zenin name because he's like, "F them. I'm taking on my wife's name," which is kind of badass in itself. Um, he is he is the father of Megumi Fushiguro. If you have not really ascertained that as of right now, but he doesn't really like associate. He's not a good father, but it really, I mean, anime kind of
You
like
need one. You always need a bad dad.
um he's super strong. He has no curse technique. He doesn't actually have curses. He has pretty much heavenly, what is it called? Heavenly restriction.
I think so. Yes.
Um,
Essentially, where he's a superhuman.
yeah, essentially he's superhuman and he can he can see curses and all this other shit like that, but he can't actually like be a curse. Um, but essentially Toji is a, bad bitch. Um, with that said, there's a lot of things that go on from here. I mean, once we're introduced to kind of like Toji, the plot really begins to move forward. We see essentially Geto and Gojo. They're fending off. They have Rico, and she's trying to go to school and live a normal life, but essentially they have to fend off Q. They have to fend off everyone that kind of gets in their way. And Toji himself isn't really as um, he isn't as what was the opposite of apprehensive. He isn't really assertive and necessarily jumping forward to stop Gojo because he's like, yo, this Gojo, he has not only has limited lists, but he has 6 eyes. And what does that mean? Not fully sure as of yet. but he is part of the Gojo clan, which is apparently a thing. Um, there is a video. Honestly, there's a video on YouTube. Shout out to Turtle Cork, who's been on this podcast before. He goes as in depth as you can go on the Gojo clan, which is nuts because I could. If you ask me what's the Gojo clan, I'm like, well, there starts with Gojo. I couldn't tell you any other part of it, but this is the work that Turtle Cork does. He does that, so hopefully I don't have to do that. Essentially, um, so make sure you check that out on YouTube. Actually, but he isn't as assertive to jump in because he knows pretty much like Gojo will body him. So what Toji actually does a little smart thing. He puts a bounty on Rico. So all these curses essentially come and try to attack them, or like people who are trying to get the bounty himself go and attack Gojo in terms of getting Rico to kind of wear Gojo down, or at least put down his guard a little bit. Before he can kind of slide in. So you know what? He's cerebral. He's like, he's a
No, he's a tactician, man. Told you could be a Batman villain.
he could.
He
I
can
just
fuck
I,
around and
I
be a
feel
Batman.
I wouldn't want him to die to Batman's hands. I feel like he's too cool for that. But like, yeah, he could be.
Who's whooping? I
Um,
don't know. I don't think Batman could whoop Toji's ass like that. You saw what
mm,
Bane did to fucking Batman.
this is true. This is true. I don't know. I guess does Batman have heavenly restriction?
No, Batman's a regular nigga like me and you. He just got armor.
Does he? He's not like super strong. He's not. He doesn't have.
he got everyday people, man. He's got,
Damn. He doesn't have heavenly restriction. Oh, what a
bro.
fucking lame.
Batman,
Um,
Batman, a regular dude, bro. He got the same problems as us.
does Superman have heavenly restriction?
Nah, Superman's an alien.
Okay. All right. Well, listen. Hey, I mean, I tried DC. With that said, um,
Heavenly restriction. Can we name the episode that?
I feel like X
Put
and Tim
put
are
that
gonna
one
be.
in the episode notes.
Tim is gonna be like, "Yo, y'all are wildin'." Nonetheless, he's able to track. Let's see. I have in my notes. He's open up infant. Oh, there we go. Okay, so they get to the point where after they fend off all these people, they say, "Let's go on vacation." So they spend the second to last day on vacation, and it's a blast. It's really this random part of this thing. It's really a vacation before they have to take her back to Jujutsu High, so they can bring her down to the vessels. So they can bring her down to what's his face's domain, so they can assimilate, and she can kind of do the job that she was going to do. So they bring her to the school,
I
and
think that vacation part though was so important because I think that was the time where you really see Gojo kind of start understanding of like, okay, this is why we kind of do what we do. You can kind of start seeing his attitude start to change on like his reasonings of being a sorcerer and what it means to him. I don't know. I just felt like in the like there was like kind of a emotional shift in Gojo and kind of even some of the other sorcerers around, and even for like Geto to see kind of Gojo going through that. They don't like explicitly say it, but like kind of through action and
right.
little things that they show.
No, they
Um,
did.
but no, they yeah, I really kind of like that vacation scene because you kind of just tell that it's like you can tell them they're feeling some type of way too about like what this whole Tengen situation is.
Yeah, what they're gonna do. I feel like it. Besides, like the Disney music behind it, you know what I'm saying? It's definitely one of those like Disney. Like, damn, are we really doing this? Um, but nonetheless, they show up at Jujutsu High because they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do anyway. Um, and suddenly, a whole knife comes through the chest of Gojo, which is nuts. Like blood and everything. I was like, whoa, they gonna show this on TV? Um, and sure the fuck, yes, they absolutely do. And it is none other than the invisible assassin. It's none other than the sorcerer assassin. It's Toji Fushiguro, who has stabbed Gojo from behind. They don't understand how he got in the barrier. They don't understand how he got into school. They don't understand how he even got close enough to Gojo to stab him through the friggin' chest. Um, It was like, yo, you got 6 eyes and you ain't see this coming? That's nuts. Um, but he remembers the moment where he says, listen, he is the only one in life. He remembers seeing Gojo as a kid, and he's like, this is the only little kid in life who ever noticed me standing behind them, and it hasn't happened since then, and it never happened before then. Um, but essentially, Gojo says, yo, take the girl down, do the thing, and I'ma handle this guy. Spoiler alert, he does not handle him at all.
No, he doesn't. Toji is too cold.
He used his curse tool. I mean, it's a good fight. Don't get me. There's like blue and all this other stuff, but pretty much the
Toji
exclamation
moving
points.
at supersonic speed and
Yes, and it's great animation, it's great choreography. I think once again, a step up from season one somehow, because I think even season one, that fight between Yuji and Ao versus Hanami is just a great fight in general. And I
mhm.
think they managed to, again, with the fluidity, with the animation, with the choreography, with the camera angles, which kind of like everything they did with the animation, they managed to take it up another notch with this fight. So we see this, and he has a special grade curse tool, the inverted spear of heaven. And it is really just a shank.
It's a really nice shank.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Also, inverted spear of heaven is a tight ass name.
it's pretty cool, to be honest with you. So Toji's moving at super speed. So Gojo's like, F this. I can't really tell where he's going because I can't sense him because he doesn't have curse energy. So I'm just going to destroy everything around me, which is like nuts. Like, I feel like that should get you expelled. But he's Gojo. Who gonna check him? You know what I'm saying? Um, he destroys everything, but then Toji sends these these flies, these fly heads, a swarm of fly heads to kind of like take of to
A real
confuse.
tactician, man. Listen, he
Yeah,
understands his strengths and weaknesses.
he to pretty much like take out his blind spots. Essentially, he's like, you got 6 eyes, you need to be using all 6 eyes. um it is the moment that Gojo feels like he has gone after Rico instead of actually continuing this fight, and this is just a distraction, where Toji comes in with the inverted spear of heaven and stabs him right in the neck, and then slides it all the way down his body through his chest and then across his legs. I'm just like, yo,
Yeah,
that's insane.
they went overkill with it. But I enjoyed the fact that they did that because it makes it because it's Gojo, like you said, this is a guy in which is considered the strongest sorcerer even at his age now, is like one of the strongest sorcerers there is. And um even Toji said like this kid got, this kid is special. This is special talent right here. And to see him
Yeah,
get handled so kind of like gruesomely, that even elevates the lore of Toji of just like, holy shit, like this guy is a fucking monster. Like,
he wanted to make sure that guy was dead. I mean, he should have made more sure, but he wanted to make sure he was dead. He stabbed his whole body, so it's like you can't move. And essentially, it's like, yo, Gojo is dead. Um, we flash to the tomb of Star where Seguro and Rico are at, um, and they have this moment, and she's like, I don't really want to go. I don't want to go to what was that kid on Martin said? Um,
sorry I lied to you, Martin. I didn't want to move to Arizona. Sorry I lied to you, Martin.
so, says that, but
Sorry I
Suguru
lied to you,
Geto,
Ghetto. I didn't really want to be a
really,
plasma star.
essentially, that's funny as fuck. Um, Geto and Gojo beforehand said, "Listen, we're gonna do whatever the plasma vessel wants to do, and we understand the value of life, and they will support whatever decision that she wants to make. So if she does not want to assimilate with this guy who looks like, I mean, you won't know what he looks like until at least season 3. But he's like a Slim Jim. You know what I'm saying? He look nasty. Um, look like a damn what do you call it? A spring roll. You know what I'm saying?
A
Um,
spring roll.
he, he
Slim
was
Jim was
nasty.
good. Spring
I
roll
feel
is
like if Rico saw what Tengen looked like, she would be like, "Y'all bugging,
yeah.
y'all are bugging." Um, Either way, they're like, you know what? Let's go. I'm gonna take you back to your school, and then Rico gets shot in the head.
what a beautiful ending for her life.
Hey
Loki,
man, they
don't
had the
do.
beautiful music playing and all this other stuff like that, man.
I love how that episode ends too. Just like it's like the gunshot. Ghetto's just like stunned, like the look on his face changing.
Listen, Toji says you better go. You might as well go home now because that mission you were on, you failed that mission. You fuck.
He was like, "All right, bro, I'll catch you later."
He was like, "Yo, I'm gonna get my M's. Sorry you failed your mission, my guy, but I had to do what I had to do." And this starts the Ghetto versus Toji fight, which is it's definitely it's a fight. It's not he's not Gojo, so that's really the problem. But he uses all of his kind of like curse techniques. He can release all the curse techniques that he has. He has his rainbow dragon. He does all these other stuff like that. He uses all his curse spirit manipulation, all the other bullshit like that. Toji bodies him too. He's like, you ain't, you definitely
Yeah,
not
he's like,
Gojo.
"You sit down."
Yeah, hits him with the X across the chest. Um, he would be a great Street Fighter character. That's what I see with Toji. Like,
Oh, Toji on Tekken.
boy, come on now. Don't
Well,
put
they
him on
are
Jump
releasing that
Force.
Jujutsu Kaisen fighting game, aren't they?
Are they?
Uh, let's
That would be
holla at
tight.
AJ after this. I think
That would
so.
be tight. A little competitive fighting game, a Jujutsu Kaisen. That would be kind of
AJK
cool.
fighting game, Curse Clash
Um,
fighting game, heading to consoles and PC. Here we go.
there you go. All right, listen, DLC Toji, um, with the Heavenly Restriction patch. But with that said, he completely bodies him, doesn't kill him. He's like, I don't know what's gonna happen to all these spirits if I kill you. So I don't know if they're gonna haunt me in my dreams or something like that, but I don't really want none of that, so I'm not gonna kill you. But I kill Gojo, by the way. So figure out your life. I don't know what to do. Um, Toji gives Rico's body to the Time Vessel Association. He collects his M's, tries to walk out the building. Gojo's alive. And not only is he alive, he's fucking manic. And not only is he manic, he's calling. Um,
Oh yeah, he's on a high right now.
yeah, he's
He is.
absolutely on a high.
He is. He is. Yeah, he's zooted and booted. He's ready to go.
Zooted is a great word for this thing because that's exactly what I said. And this, he is like, um, I don't know if there's like there's power ups you have, and we see power ups in like Dragon Ball Z and One Piece and all this other stuff like that. This is a weird way to showcase that the kind of Satoru Gojo is kind of like broken through to another level, to a completely different space because he is 100% delirious. He is drunk on power. He has this power. He's zooted on power, essentially, um, to the point where like he's floating in the sky. He's mastered curse technique reversal red. Um, and since Toji do a thing, he can see where Toji's moving and all the other stuff. All this power up that came out of nowhere. I guess it's a near death experience. Maybe he's a Saiyan, to be honest with you. I mean, let's
Oh,
see.
probably. He just gets stronger every time.
Um, Toji attempts to use Chain of 1,000 Miles to attach to the inverted spear of heaven and try to really take out Gojo, but he is unable to. Um, and Gojo uses Hollow Technique Purple. It was the first time he uses it. We've seen it in season 1. He uses it today and completely puts a hole right through Toji. Um, Toji goes out like a man, though. He didn't go out crying. He didn't go out on the floor. He didn't go out nothing. He just standing there, big body, with a chunk bitten out of him by this hollow purple. And his final words is, "My son is out there somewhere. do do that with. He's going to be sold off to the Zenin clan. Do with that information what you must." And he does
Dies
what
like
he must.
he dies still on business. He dies like, hey, listen, before I go, there's still some things I need to be handled.
They recover Rico's body. Gojo's like, "Yo, should we kill all these people? Like, we should really kill all these people. I'm on one right now. Let's kill these people." And essentially, Geto has recovered now. Essentially, like, nah, it's like it's not worth it. Like, he says, it's very important for there always to be a point, especially with jujutsu sorcerers, and this is kind of where we lead to. Honestly, episode 29 of Jujutsu Kaisen, but episode 5 of season 2. I'm trying to think of a better episode of Jujutsu Kaisen than this, to be honest with you.
There probably isn't one. Not right
I
now.
I feel like for a series that is so, I guess, from the fan base lore, kind of like so supported by the fights and the encounters and the conflict, it's very rare that you get the development that you get with this kind of like character. And also, this is an episode that's not about Yuji, not about Megumi, not about Gojo. This is about Geto and kind of like how he becomes the way he becomes, which essentially sets the table for Jujutsu Kaisen season 0, Jujutsu Kaisen season 1, and whatever the hell we got left in season 2. So to me, as being the main kind of like protagonist of the series, this is probably the most important episode thus of this series thus far, I think.
No,
um
I'm right there with you. I think that it really like puts you in the first of all, like put you in the mind of the villain and like understanding how he like becomes the way he becomes. But it also makes you question too of like, is he kind of really wrong for feeling this way in terms of just like how he has seen, the things that he's had to see and experience. Um, I think that like just once again, this whole arc is just about people having those internal struggles of with like the decisions that they're making and understanding the decisions that they're making and why they're doing the things that they're doing. And just have a kind of a whole episode with him going through that conflict.
right. And it's a lot of internal, and then it becomes external conflict in a sense, especially when we get to, again, Jujutsu Kaisen season 0. So he sits there. I mean, it takes place a year later, and Gojo's powers has evolved pretty much to the point where he is unrivaled. He is the strongest sorcerer that ever exists, and Geto isn't. And it was at a point where both of them were kind of like on similar footing, and actually he was on better footing because he always knew his role and knew what was going on, where Gojo was kind of like the slacker of the group. But now Gojo is numero uno. He's going off on missions by himself. They're sending Geto on missions by himself, but ultimately it's the Gojo show. Um, and he is now really taking a look at, but especially with the last thing of like jujutsu sorcery, there always needs to be a point. He's trying to figure out like what's the point really of the things that he's been doing this year. He's been absorbing again. He has been exercising, absorbing, over and over and over and over and over again. And he's like, "Yo, what is the point?" Especially again, he says, "No one understands what the thing tastes like. Cursed spirits taste like." And they show this scene of him in the bathroom. It's giving like Oz, uh, but they show him in the bathroom, and he's really like trying to really wrap his head around like thing. But you can see like the disgust really like flowing in his
He got a
face.
real cozy fit on too. The white
No, I
tee
was
with the
talking about when he's in the bathroom. He actually had no fit on in the bathroom, but But
Oh,
after
I'm
that,
talking about the after the one. I'm thinking of the when he's talking to.
he's talking to the kid.
Yeah, that's right after
Let's
it.
talk about let's talk about the kid. Let's talk
That's
about the
funny.
kid.
We over here talking
Um,
about the shower. I'm like, my mind goes straight to that scene. I'm like, oh, he got a crazy fit on. He's like, he's naked. What are you talking about?
yeah.
That's hilarious.
Um, Yu Haibara, who is
Yeah.
his, I guess he's a senior to them.
Hmm.
But Gojo, I mean, Geto's looking rough and all this other stuff like that. Like
Oh
he's
man.
got bags under his eyes. He does not look well. Um, and he asks essentially Haibara, he's like, "Yo, you ever think about like it's like the have you seen Barbie yet?"
No, I've not.
Okay. I won't spoil it.
Spoil it. I'm not gonna see it.
He says essentially Barbie has this moment in the Barbie movie where it changes everything. And Barbie says, "Do you ever think about like just dying?" And all the other Barbies are like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Because they're toys, they can't die. Um, but she's having thoughts about dying. Whereas Geto in this instance is asking, "Do you think you can keep going as a jujutsu sorcerer?" To Haibara, and Haibara's like, "Yeah, nigga, like I can keep going forever. Like I love this job." He is legitimately the only normal person at this high school that I've ever seen ever. There's no like weird quirk. There's
He's just
no
like,
like
bro,
weird.
I'm doing it for the love of the game, bro. He's like, I don't
Yeah,
know
he got the
why
most normal haircut. He's got the
I'm
most normal thing. Like even he's partners with what's my man's name, Nanami.
Oh yeah.
And Nanami even looks a little strange through this, but he looks completely normal. Again, we see the introduction of Sukum, Sukumo, um, and she comes in the scene and she asks him a question. He answers mad eagerly and shit like that. He's like, "I'm about to go on my mission. I can't believe I'm about to go across country and go on a mission." Little does he know he dies on that fucking mission terribly, gruesomely.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
he gets fucked up. It's always the
um,
over eager ones, man.
yeah, yeah, he does get fucked up, and it
That's fucked up. How
again.
the most normal nigga get to be the one that dies like that? That's why they made him
Yes,
so normal. They're like, we're gonna make his
absolutely,
death extraordinary.
absolutely. But it's a death that essentially continues to push Ghetto in that direction. But really, what's pushing him in this direction, really, what's really makes him think, is this conversation with Special Great Sorcerer Tsukumo, who essentially she has this reputation of being a good for nothing who wanders abroad and doesn't really do anything regarding Jujutsu High. But she says she hates Jujutsu High School because they essentially never really solve the problem. They just like treating symptoms, as she says. They never really get to the point of the actual problem. Like, what really is going to stop all these curses? They're just there to police the curses and police them from people. And this is where Ghetto's really having his awakening and realizing that there's more than one way of thinking about this. So she says essentially there are two paths that you can kind of take. One, we can figure out what's the first one she says.
Delete
Um,
all curses from the world,
nah,
right?
that
No.
was what Ghetto said. She says eliminate curse energy from mankind,
Yeah, there we
and
go.
then the second one is make it possible for humanity to control their curse energy. And then Ghetto's the one who's like, but what if we kill them all? And she's like, that's actually a solution. I never thought of that, but that would be really really hard to do. Um, but he thinks about it for the first time, and he kind of like really thinks about his place in the school and place in the universe and kind of like what he's really serving. Is he really serving a great purpose? And he goes on this mission, and essentially they've trapped these two girls who have cursed energy. They say that they're devils and all this other stuff like that. And the people are like, we should have killed you two when you were babies and all this other stuff. They treat him like Naruto. Um, but he sits there and he's like, I know what I have to do now. And he says, can we step outside for a moment? and he kills the entire village in the name of these two girls. And it's from there on he's at the point of no return. And I think the entire episode is him hinging and getting to and pushing towards that point. And he finally steps over that point and he reaches the point of no return where he kills everyone in the village and he is no longer. You see the button from the Jujutsu High thing drop, and he is no longer a student at Jujutsu High. He is now a cursed, I guess, cursed sorcerer. He's supposed to
Yeah,
be, he's
I
supposed to be
guess so.
sentenced to death. And the next scene we have is Gojo essentially being completely shocked. He's like, "Yo, what? Huh? Ghetto? That's nuts." He was the most normal out of all of us. Um, Ghetto killed his parents. Ghetto killed everyone else, and now he's living his life as a murderer. Um,
And really cozy fits. Once again, the all black sweatsuit is like just nice and baggy. Like,
I like how they find him in the street and no one's like screaming or no one's like, "Yo, arrest! We need to apprehend you immediately." They're just like, because it's the chain smoking girl, because she's
mhm.
worried about her sake, and she's just like, "Let me call Ghetto. Yo, Gojo, he's over here." Um,
He was like,
and
"Hey,
it's
listen, this is above my pay grade. I ain't trying to tussle with this nigga."
right. Um, and I think before Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, this is the last time that Geto and Gojo see one another, and you see how their ideals have changed, and you see these like Gojo's truly trying to figure out the point of why we're killing everyone, and he's like, essentially, you can't kill everyone. You know that's impossible. And Geto's like, if I were you, it would be possible. Like you're saying this, you're not you're Gojo. Like you're the all powerful, and you knew if I had the powers that you had, I would be able to kill everyone too. Um, so like, let's be real. He says BFFR. Um, and yeah, it it's sad. It's sad in this moment. Gojo's lost his best friend in this situation, um, and Geto's completely transformed into who he becomes. You know, he takes over the star plasma thing. He oh, and then at the end of the episode, Gojo finds Megumi and his sister, and essentially takes them to become however they become in the future. But it's the ideals that they have now. Now they have completely separate ideals, and now they're, I guess, opposing forces. And to me, it's wild now because we fast forward to Jujutsu Kaisen season 0, and the end of that, which is Gojo eventually does kill Geto. So that takes place before everyone else. So it's kind of like now, like, what the fuck is, who the hell is this guy? That's the question I asked at the beginning of this. Is like essentially who are we watching? Who
Mhm.
are we watching walk around now in this husk of a body, considering that Gojo has already killed Geto?
Mhm.
Um, and I guess we find that out in the second half of the season. Well, second half, the rest of the season. Um, what were your kind of like thoughts on kind of like how this entire ordeal ended?
Um, like even talking about it now, I like want to triple down on your statement of like this really might be the best episode of Jujutsu Kaisen so far. I think the ending, just like the way that it's um like that scene where he's talking to the special sorcerer and all that, and just like transitioning that to when old boy dies, and just like how dark it is, and just like how it, how his face looks, and how he just looks tired, and how he looks just like, you know like he's just over it. And then transitioning that to the point where, and then like the fact that when he kills that whole village, it happens at nighttime, so it's like it's completely dark. And then transitioning to that moment, to him and Gojo's like final talk, and how it's just like how the light is shining on his face and he just looks so much happier. He looks so much just like, man, I got this like burden released from me. Like I feel that I'm finally myself. I'm finally free. I'm finally doing my thing. Like the transition of that to that scene and like him coming to terms with the fact that like, bro, I gotta kill these niggas. Like I cannot continue to do it. It's like humans are horrible and non-sorcerers are horrible and we just need to make a world where it's like you said, people can defend themselves and whatnot, but God, just them going through that, like Gojo's kind of moment of um him trying to understand it and him like having this like this moment of, dog, I may not agree with you and I like really hate that you're taking this path, but he's also completely like, I don't want to fight you, I don't want to kill you, like you're my, you're my friend and you're somebody I was like I had this relationship with. And man, it
And
just like the ending.
it even stayed that way through Jujutsu Kaisen 0, because that's like the
Yeah,
final moments between them. Um, is essentially like they finally see each other after a long, long time, and kind of like it's not a I hate you, I hate your guts. It's more so like, yo, you got to do what you got to do, you know. Um,
and like the cool thing is too is that I like how it's not this like um you know different side of the same coin ordeal where Gojo is like this person super dedicated to the Jujutsu Kaisen rule book and how it's supposed to be in sorcerer society, where he's also like, yeah, I have my own issues with it. Like I don't like. I think you're right in terms of pointing out the fact that there is something wrong with like sorcerer society, but he's like, what else is It's one of those things too where he's like, this is not the way to go about it. Like
right,
they
innocent
have
people
these
who have
kind of,
nothing to do about this shouldn't be
yeah, it shouldn't
victims
have
of
to
it.
perish for for us to live, or for us to like not have to live in a world where we got to watch our comrades die and stuff like that. So I like the fact too where they both have their issues with how things are being upheld. They just have these different views on how things could be fixed and how things can be changed. And you know unfortunately, um their opposing thoughts on how to change it is drawing them against each other. um I think that also too, you feel that I think Gojo had felt kind of probably in that moment of like, bro, we can work together to change it. And I think that's something too where I feel that his, once again, his change from episode 1 to their moment at the beach and on vacation, and kind of like this point now where he's at, where it's kind of, you kind of see these jumps of, you could tell that on that vacation, once again, he's starting to, you could see that emotionally, he's really changing his outlook and view on kind of like what it means to be a sorcerer, or like his own power and whatnot. But then also going to this now where he's kind of like, bro, we really can change this, but I can't go as far as you're trying to go.
So yeah, the question is, what would you do if your bestie became an incel? Um, yeah, that's a question we'll have to figure out in the rest of season 2. To be honest with you, um, but this was great again, and just 5 episodes in, and it's already an all timer. Um, we're gonna have more to talk about. Pretty much, we only got more. It kicks off again at the end of the month. So you got a couple. I'm cool with the break. I'm cool with the time off. Because I really do think it's a tale of like two stories, and I think this gives the first part a bit of time to settle in before we really get rocking and rolling with what happens in the rest of season 2 with the Shibuya incident. Um, but thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, I mean, we're still summer at Kame House. We're still here. Um, Next week we're definitely going to do Mobile Suit Gundam, Witch from Mercury. So we're gonna get into that talk. But this has been a nice little excursion away from that, and we kind of talk about some current stuff. And like, if you guys have any thoughts and kind of anything you've heard on this, feel free to follow the lookout RNC on whatever social media app it's called now. And yeah, that's kind of it. Any final words?
um I'm picking up the mobile suit this week, so we'll be back.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be back in 2 weeks with Mobile Suit Gundam, Witch from Mercury, and yeah, stay tuned to the lookout. We'll be on the lookout. Yeah, see you guys next time. Take care.